Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Matt Storrs, and welcome to Mattsplaining. On today's episode, I have an expert who I'm very excited to talk to about a topic that I feel is very important for people to learn more about. Expert, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're an expert in.
Hello, Matt. My name is Rory Scholl, and I am an expert on taking care of a diabetic cat.
Excellent. My understanding of caring for a diabetic cat is that it's not too unlike caring for a diabetic human. As we know, diabetes is a glucose imbalance in humans and other animals, and it requires testing and injections. I remember friends in high school who had diabetes who would have those little test strips. They have those for cats as well. And it's basically you do a little pinprick and then get the blood out, and then it'll tell you whether or not what the blood sugar level is. But with cats, what you have to do in contrast to humans, you have to mother cat them. So you have to put your mouth on their neck, stretch it so they feel like they're being carried by their mother, and then you can prick them on their paw or wherever you would want. Some people prick them on the nose. You're not supposed to do that, but I've seen that done, and I'm like, I don't know if that's an appropriate thing to get the blood out.
You've seen that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Some of the most famous cats in history have been diabetic, such as a Grumpy Cat. A lot of people don't know that Grumpy Cat was diabetic. Yeah. Also, Scar from Lion King.
Okay.
Be Prepared, famous song, is actually about making sure that you have your test strips available and with you at all times, because you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of where your blood sugar is at so that you can usurp the throne if given the opportunity, because if there is a stampede, you got to take advantage of that stampede. And a lot of people's background with cats in general tends to be with Garfield. Garfield, not a real cat, but
Scar is.
Scar is, absolutely. Scar, historical figure. Lions, that's the thing about diabetes. Diabetes can be in any mammalian species. So dogs can get it, cats can get it.
Sure.
A lot of mice and rats in New York City have diabetes. Famously, Pizza Rat. Pizza Rat has diabetes.
At the very least, he has diabetes.
At the very least. And people are like, oh, the rats and everything, oh, they're diseased. Yeah, most of the disease is just diabetes. It's not necessarily that they're carrying like rabies or anything like that. It's just they just have that glucose imbalance. And so with Garfield, for instance, a lot of people are like, oh, Garfield hates Mondays, and people are trying to understand why Garfield hates Mondays. And the issue is Garfield famously loves lasagna, a lot of simple carbohydrates in that, not a lot of complex carbohydrates, very, very calorie dense, spikes the blood sugar, and he basically can get that anytime. But when he has to get his testing to start the week, the hardest part of the week is to do his testing on a Monday to make sure that his blood sugar levels are at the appropriate level and he gets his injections on that day. And that's usually not included within the cartoon. There are a couple panels where Garfield does get some injections, but kids don't like needles famously. So
Plus, he lives with Odie and his anxiety is up. So if your anxiety goes up, that's hard to do too.
Exactly. So that it's just a whole sort of dynamic that could potentially be difficult for people to recognize and appreciate the seriousness of it. They don't want to have too many serious Garfield panels, but they missed out on really informing the populace, giving them an avenue into understanding how pervasive diabetes is in felines and in other animals besides human beings, and how it can be cared for. So that is most of what I know about caring for a diabetic cat. Basically, probably would want to get a good amount of healthy treats and mindful treats for the cats, good bedding, good stuff to care for them in a way that is a little bit more mindful than what you would have for just a regular cat, I would assume, trying to be really cognizant of that.
Based on what good bedding, I think, for all cats.
Yeah, good bedding, but you also want to have something that's potentially washable, a little bit easier, maybe. Something that is like, hey, I'm going to take care of you, and I want to make sure that you understand that, kind of building that bond because especially if you are having to provide injections, you kind of have to build that trust. Based on what you've heard so far, about how much of that would you say is accurate?
If it's on a 1 to 10, maybe I'll give you maybe a 5 on that one.
Okay, a 5, a solid 5. Okay.
Yeah. But if it's like an A to Z, then maybe an L.
Okay, I do like an L. I'll take the L. Yeah. So what is your background with diabetic cats?
Well, I cared for a diabetic. My cat got diabetes when he was 9.
Okay.
And for 2 years we went through it, and he got into remission because I took care of him. I did all the steps.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have never heard of the putting your mouth on the neck thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen humans do that? Humans put their mouths on the cat's neck to stretch out the fur.
I have, and I will say I have done it myself.
That's okay.
Yeah, and you think it wouldn't be effective, but it is. If you need to trim a cat's claw, it is a way to do that. Yeah. So
well, that's weird. I've seen the toys where it's like you put the groomer brush on your tongue and you groom them with the tongue. That's a little too much.
I haven't gone that far. I've had that in my cart before, but then I've talked myself out of it.
Yeah, same. And you don't even have a cat, do you? That would be a weird purchase for you.
Well, not anymore. I've had cats in the past.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I get first, if you have a diabetic cat, it's not the end of the world. People think it's a disease, right? But it's a totally manageable disease. And when my cat was first diagnosed, my cat Valentino, when they said injections, I was thinking you were putting injections like right into like a vein or something. I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. But it just goes, a lot of people think that it's going to go right into the skin. It's just right under the fur. It's just enough to get it mixed in with the fur. It doesn't go into his body.
I see.
Yeah. So that's a big point there. And then the diet. Yeah, the diet, you do have to watch this diet. You were right on the low carbs. So it should be like no carbs, no grain, high protein diet. Which I think is good for anyone, really. I think that's good. Like, because grains are going to make that sugar spike.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and human treats are good. Little deli meats every once in a while are good.
What kind of deli meat are we talking here?
He enjoyed boar's head.
Okay, good boar's head.
Regular turkey. Don't get the honey turkey. Obviously, you don't want.
What about the smoked turkey?
The smoked turkey also has sugar in it, so
okay.
Yeah. Roast beef. Roast beef is fine. That's pretty good. And yeah, lasagna would definitely be something to avoid.
Absolutely. With the boar's head discussion, you just reminded me, when I was in high school, I would bring boar's head sandwiches. I would get the smoked turkey. And I remember one of my friends who had diabetes, like I would just pack on the meat and then I would let them try it. And I realized like, oh no, and then they would test their blood sugar and they would always spike. And I'm like, I never realized that it had sugar in it, so I have a sorry to send to somebody now.
Yeah, well, if they didn't know themselves, really, that's not on you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and as far as like checking the thing, like I'm not good with, like I said, I'm not good with needles either. I'm not good with blood. So there's a lot of people that get obsessed with checking their cat's levels every hour. If you go on some of these Facebook group pages for diabetic cats, I would avoid that altogether. Because they are just obsessed. They're like, well, if you're not checking every hour, and what are you doing for your sugar baby? They call them sugar babies, and it drives me nuts. I just go on there occasionally for advice, but they're obsessed. You don't have to do. It's not going to change hour to hour, and a lot of you can prick the cat's ear and get a little bit of blood, but now they have this thing called a Freestyle Libre, and same thing with humans. It's just a device that you they shave a part of the cat's neck or back, attach it to, and they give you a little monitor, and you just scan it throughout the day.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's much easier than pricking the ears or the gums or anything, which is great.
Yeah, and that's, you basically make the cat into a cyborg in some ways.
Yeah, he is pretty good. It's like a little RoboCop, a little RoboCat running around. But yeah, that's the main thing is don't freak out about it.
Yeah. Are you clear on how your cat developed it, or was it just kind of like an age thing? Just diet was kind of imbalanced, or? Well,
he's obsessed. If your cat, first of all, the signs, like if you have a cat that is all of a sudden has just dropped weight, but is ravenous all the time. That's how I could tell. He was hungry 24 hours a day, and he really dropped his weight. It was his age, but it was also, he's obsessed with gravy. like if you for years and years you get these fancy feasts and things, not to knock fancy feasts, they're fine for the first couple of years of a cat's life, but that gravy in there was just gonna screw with their glucose, and as they get older, that's what exactly what happens. They develop diabetes and other problems because of it.
So, and
So
when you're saying gravy, you're not meaning like the gravy that would be in lasagna spoken like as an Italian, as
that's the
opposed to sauce?
ragu.
That's the ragu.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
But
so you can get a choice of pate. Pates
okay.
don't have gravy and they're lower in carbs. But
I see.
the chopped up one is like, hey, now in its own gravy, like an au jus or something like that. That's where it gets bad.
I see. Okay. I was always pretty consistently a dry cat food person, or dry food with like supplemental of like little snacks, and dogs peanut butter, and then cats a little bit of meat.
Yeah. So I was giving him a couple injections. Was it 5 milligrams that we started with? That sounds like a lot.
It does sound, but yeah, micro.
Actually, he started with 7. His sugar levels were high. Okay. You want to keep a cat's levels in between like 80 and 140, and his levels were almost 500.
Oh wow, that's so high.
Yeah, so twice a day he'd get an injection right under the fur of like 0.7 milligrams, and then after the 2 years, we dropped it down to 1 shot a day at like 0.5, and he was heading right towards remission. So
that's great.
Yeah, it was great. So he gained his weight back, he got his energy back, and yeah, it is a totally treatable disease, and yeah, that's the goal, is to get into remission.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then once, were you followed by, I presume, like your veterinarian, right? So
yeah,
you brought him in, and did you have pretty consistent appointments with the vet, or was it more once you got kind of a handle on it, it was like, okay, you come in with, there's a problem?
I would bring him in every other month just to be
sure.
That Freestyle Libre thing lasts about 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so we do that. And if the numbers were good and consistent for 2 weeks, that you could last another maybe 5-6 weeks doing the same diet. Then I'd go in, we'd get another one put on just to monitor again. Yeah, you can do it at home, but there's no way I'm going to shave my cat and glue this thing to his neck. I'm not doing that. So yeah, we would do that every other month.
Okay, fantastic. What was it like for you having to go through and do that on a daily basis? Like, did you think it kind of adapted your relationship with them?
Oh, 100%. And it happened right at the start of the pandemic too. So it actually gave me something to focus on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Which was nice. And at first, here's how stupid I was though. They were like, well, you got to do it 12 hours apart, right? So if you do it at whatever noon, then do it at midnight. And I gave him his first shot at 5 p.m. So in my head, I'm like, oh, now I got to get up at 5 a.m. every day and do a shot. But you can change that. You can miss one shot. So after about a month, I was like, wait, I can just start at 11 in the morning and do it 11 at night. So yeah, but yeah, it gave me like bookends for the days to do it. And eventually he even knew when it was time. He would hop up on I have a table here, or a ledge in my kitchen, where he would hop up, and that's easier to do if you can get him up to your level rather than squat down on the floor.
Right.
But we had a routine, and it was great. Really helped out. Oh, now my other cat is on top of my laptop. Okay, come on. Are you
one that want to be focused on them. Well, did you have your other cat at the same time, or is the other cat newer?
No. Well, unfortunately, the cat that had diabetes passed away from
I'm sorry,
something else. Yeah, right when he went into remission. So no, so they never met. But now I got this little rapscallion running around. So if his sugars ever go low, I got it.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
it sounds like a skill set that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily. It's something, it feels like you carry with you. You know what I mean? Like you can
definitely,
kind of. Yeah.
And now if I have a friend who has a cat and they're diabetic and they're going on vacation and they need someone to just pop in and do an injection, I can do it, no problem. The first time I was freaking out. I really was, because the doctor just gave me a prescription for insulin and a box of needles, and it was like, good luck. And I was like, well, I'm no doctor, but I'm no doctor. It's
right.
Like,
what do I do? Yeah.
What do I do? So I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I made my own YouTube video that people can watch, because most of the videos I saw were just like doom. They were either doom and gloom, or they were just like so boring and just like, make sure you monitor this and make sure he needs this and that. And it's like, it fills you full of dread, like these Facebook support pages. just do it at your own. You'll find a rhythm with it, like we did, and it doesn't have to take over your life.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that that's a really good positive thing, because a lot of similar things that I've seen where people have like some sort of chronic condition,
Mm.
and the way in which they present it is, so they want to get the information out, but that they can't detach it from like the sadness or like the gloom, as you said,
Yeah,
and being able to put it like, hey, this is just how this works and you don't have to be worried, I think would be, yeah, I bet a lot of people have found that really helpful.
good. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, so that video's out there, but yeah.
Excellent. If people wanted to learn more about you or learn more about this topic, where would you recommend that they go?
Well, they can go to my YouTube page, Rory Scholl. I have the videos up there and some of my other work. And they can always follow me on Instagram at Rory's Rangers. That's Rangers with a Z. To find out where I'm performing and stories I'm telling and things like that.
Absolutely fantastic. Rory, thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like I learned quite a bit.
Good. And Scar, hopefully Scar gets the help he needs.
Absolutely. I think diabetes is the least of Scar's worries. I feel that there are some personality things that maybe therapy could help as well.
But what a
Uh,
singing voice. What a voice.
truly, what a singing voice. Rory, thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. My name's Matt Storrs, and this has been Mattsplaining.